Tigers, the Nordiques, the Whalers, the Seals, the Americans, the North Stars. Who's gonna stall? Who will go far and earn the keg? Who's gonna earn the keg? We'll find out in time. Give us a holler on the whoop line.
The Monday Night Lights podcast is back. The season has started. I'm Brian Pearcy along with Troy Otto and Andrew Hedis. How you boys doing today?
Sad.
He said sad.
It's not gonna be. It's gonna be a long season reporting for duty if I have to rehash a North Stars loss all fucking season.
Yo, cue the sad boy posts. Cue the Post Malone songs, and
Wah, wah, wah.
yeah, that's a good. There you go. This one's for you, Kona. We're already on North Stars tonight, so suck it.
A few reminders as always. Give us a call on the Whoop line 714-75-WHOOP. Give us an email at podcast@mnlhl.com. Follow us and subscribe to us on Twitch. It looks like we just got a 3-month, got his 3 months, Mr. Jeremy Drager. He's now eligible, I think, for that Seals logo. So congratulations, Mr. Drager. We appreciate the support.
One quick question on these logos. So you say now he's month 3, so he gets the Seals logo. Now can he like change it back and forth, or do all 3 of them show up? How does this even work on like a display?
So I believe it works when you're in the chat. Everything you get. So for your first month, you get the keg.
Yeah.
Third goes no glue.
Third month, you earn the Seals logo.
Right.
So when
I
you're
get
chatting,
that.
you get those next to that.
So
And
all 3 of them now appear next to his name, or do you like kind of pick and
well,
choose
you'll have the
which
keg
one?
and the seal. They'll both appear next to his name. And then once you get to 6, you'll get the next team.
Yeah.
9 months,
And they'll
12
always-
months.
and
You'll
they'll
essentially
always
have I think it's the original 4
Right.
you're eligible for after the full year. I don't know after that how that works, but it's kind of just a badge of honor just to test things out.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
Yo, love the resub bit here. That's perfect.
but yeah, actually, my keg isn't showing. I'm looking right now, so I don't know how it works either. We're old men here. We're almost all in our 40s. Not well, Hedis, he is, and he's a young man, but
He's a young man.
we're not very cool. So, as always, as well, give us a rating and a review on the podcast. We have a 4th mic. We could have used someone today. Would have been really nice to have someone from the Seals or the Americans to give us some thoughts on that other game. But if you're interested, let me know. Let's get on to some news real quick. First thing, jersey updates. As one of the heads of the league, Troy, do you have any?
Yeah, I do. It's not great, but it's not as horrible as I thought. Like, I believe on Friday or Saturday, like, there was no even evidence that the jerseys were, alive. If you've followed Dangle Sauce on Instagram or Twitter, like, they usually do like a sneak peek, and we hadn't even seen like a sneak peek, and then we're here in 2 to 3 weeks, and I was like, shit, we're looking at like, this is starting to feel like week 3, 4, 5 to me. But over the weekend, I think on Monday, there was some, and I can't remember, I don't know what's posted, if it's the executive channel or if it's out there, but there has been some photos, like the sneak peeks are now there, which means the jerseys exist, they've been made. So I think there's a chance that we even get them this week and they're ready for week 2. But I think worst case, we'll have them for week 3.
So they're on Instagram, like on Dingle Sauce's Instagram?
I believe like there's a little sneak. I saw photo evidence of the Tigers and the Ducks. And then someone told me that those were like the last ones being like completed. So
Yeah, I personally have not seen them on Instagram as yet. And that's the one thing looking at their account. I've noticed they've posted a lot of logos, but I haven't actually saw a lot of jerseys being posted. So I'm guessing that we're not the only league that's having this issue right now.
There was a time. No, so last year we had our jerseys for week 1. The year before that was the first year that we had like the customs, and that was like the debacle. I think they showed up in like week 5 or 6. But that season, that was also the first season that we did the volunteer ref, and I was reffing out at the Onyx to get a little experience. And somebody was wearing, I think it was like halfway through the season, and this team had some pretty badass Dangle Sauce jerseys. And I was like, man, those are pretty sweet, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, about fucking time. We just got them a week ago. And this was in like mid-December. So to answer your question, it's like they're just universally slow across the board. And so it's not just us that gets screwed.
And now that they have so many more D3 and D2 teams they've been supporting for college hockey or even a couple high schools, like they probably put them ahead of us in our queue because like, oh, you know what? It's Monday Night Lights. Who cares about Monday Night Lights?
Yeah.
Do they have a podcast? Do they have a song? catchy jingle? No. So move us up on that schedule, DS.
And
Yeah.
it does sound like they have a lot of their jerseys or they're all being made in China, probably at a random factory. So I don't even know when they put the order and how much control they have over a college one versus another one. They probably have a lot more time and a lot of lead up for those teams.
I don't want to bore anyone with details, but it's like then the custom inks and the colors and the blah blah blah. So, but I talked with Manny. It's like we had the order completely submitted. I think it was like July 19th. And that it should be enough time to have them here, but it is what it is. But looking like week 2, week 3, and we'll go from there.
Realistically, they're nice jerseys. I think they're worth it for the price that we get with the league and everything else. I think we've calmed down a little bit in our couple years where it's not the end of the world now. Everybody seemed pretty cool about it, but obviously the sooner the better would be better.
Yeah, it's just the anticipation. You're like a kid on Christmas. You want to open your little package, and then you're just waiting and waiting. But soon enough.
So next item on the agenda is going to be sub talk. Yesterday in a Slack before opening night, there was a lot of talk of the Nordiques subbing up left and right, playing dirty, being cheap. There seemed to be a little bit of vagueness from the Ivory Tower of was there a sub rule 100% defined, what it was. Troy, again, being in the Ivory Tower, what is your understanding of this sub rule?
First of all, I have a little breaking news. I didn't know if this had reached the voice of MNL, but since we're in the news section, before we get into the serious discussion, if you recall, there was supposed to be a jersey retirement ceremony for Mr. Wilkie on Monday, who couldn't make his own retirement. Then today, about a few hours ago, he sends a message to Panty that says, "I regret my retirement decision. Is there any way I can come back?" So this is literally breaking news. And then coupled with the Sam Maki...
It's a big scam.
It's a big scam. And then coupled with the Sam Maki long-term injury, the breaking news is that subject to GM approval, which by the time I rolled in here, looks like everybody pretty much already agreed to it. Wilkie's going to be a permanent Sam Maki sub for the Americans until Sam comes back, which is mid-October. So it's a little spicy. There's some competitive talk there, friendly talk, but it's some breaking news that I figured I should share on the podcast.
That's fantastic news, one. Two, I'm the trusted voice of MNL, not just the voice of MNL, so let's get that right. Other people, like Dylan, claim I'm the king of MNL. I'm not taking that one myself. He was trying to offer me a throne last night, but
Dylan's a new guy who clearly hasn't been around long enough to make these decisions.
And he also brought that Biz Nasty, spitting chiclets vodka with him, and I think half that was gone before he gave Vinner a pull. So
man, Dylan is a party guy. I mean, great addition to the league. But
when you show up to the Bat Blue party deck and you have a fucking lawn chair and you just bust that bitch out, you know you're prepared.
I know. He's ready. He's camping out. I mean, twisted fister. I mean, we're jumping all around here, but. The one part about my power rankings, it's like this Fister guy, can they get the fucking guy? I mentioned this in the power rankings. I mean, if there's anyone who deserves get the guy a hat, a jersey. I mean, he deserves some Seals swag. I mean, we talk about dedication.
You can even go to Pure Hockey and you buy or B&R Sports and buy yourself a hat. It's all good for the draft.
Yeah, whoop, money bags, whoop.
But yeah, I did have little flurries out there. Let me know to expect some breaking news. I didn't actually hear what it was, so it's nice to hear. This about Wilkie. Glad he's back. He saw, he's kind of like Gronk. He'll be back a couple weeks from now. Yeah. Great news. But let's go back to the sub rule.
Yeah. Okay.
First, let's start with what the rule is.
Yeah.
Clear day by the law.
Yeah. So here's the thing. The rule coming into this year is that you can sub up if your 12th overall selection is out, you can go up 4 spots. So you can go 11, 10, 9, 8. So 8 overall, and then anything lower is always legal. That was the rule coming into the season.
Can I ask one follow-up here?
Yeah.
What if I'm on the back-to-back and one of those is my own spot?
Still
Do you get
counts.
one extra one, or
Nope,
it counts
still
as a spot?
It's 4 no matter what. So, yeah, it's not a perfect rule, and around at the ends it can be different. But basically, 4 spots is the rule. Originally in the league, it went by round. When we only had 4 teams, if your first round was out, blah, blah, blah. But coming into the league, coming into this year, that was the rule. We had some discussion when we went to expansion that with the bye week, part of the benefit of having bye week is that it won't be that bad because when you're on the bye week, you get the first right to sub. Okay, so that was kind of talked about in concept, but not the details were never hammered out until the day of the first game. So that morning in the executive office, and where it becomes an issue is at the ends of the draft. So like the Nordiques have the number 7 over. They're the end of the draft. The Americans are first. So this rule where you have to ask the bye can actually turn out to be a huge advantage because if, let's just say, Andy Fem, number 7, is out, if you automatically ask the Tigers guy, then they get Matt Taylor, which is a huge competitive advantage. So we kind of realized that, and so then we had the discussion that morning about how we're going to do this, and then we settled on the new rule, which is you have to first ask the bye week team within a radius of 4 picks. So up or down 4, which is different from the traditional rule, but up or down 4, that's who you have to ask that bye player on a bye first. If they say no, then it reverts back to, the traditional rule. So how that played out for the Nordiques was Andy Fem is number 7. Again, it's not a perfect rule because Chris Taylor wasn't within 4 down, and Matt Taylor wasn't within 4 up. So then that bye week rule goes off the board, and then they're with the traditional rule, which led them to Sugar, who was the number 3 overall pick. So that's how that's the rule. To answer your question,
Okay, so technically the Nordiques followed that rule.
correct. There was never, as part of my cry sack routine. I made it clear on multiple occasions that there is no rule violation. It's technically within the rule of the law. But the interesting part that kind of,
It's just tacky.
yeah, as part of that, while that was all going down earlier, Ryan Allen, a trusted, honorable man, said, when we were having this discussion about the bye week rule, he said, just do the honorable, whatever the rule is, but just do the honorable thing. So, and I actually was like, yep, that makes perfect sense.
The honorable thing's following the rules.
Yeah, I know where you're going
The
with this.
honorable thing is always
Pearcy.
subbing down Pearcy. It's what the rule is in the playoffs. So
Yeah.
And, well, if I'm correct, the Deeks had, 2 other subs?
Yeah.
Did they follow the rules with those too? Because you weren't just complaining about Sugar. You were complaining about subbing up all around.
We're talking about different things. They didn't. They complied.
Answer the question.
They complied with all the rules.
Correct.
There was never any accusation of rule following. It's a different discussion. I don't know if you can follow that. There's a rule, and then there's this doing the honorable thing. And I don't. So it's fine. It is what it is. I didn't want to. We already had this discussion. I was kind of exhausted with it on the day, so I didn't want to come on here and just complain. It's fine. It's not the end of the. Did we lose because of Sugar? No. But when you collectively sub like Nick Myers for Panty, again within the rules, and Nick Myers is just a different player than Panty. Panty has his role as a defenseman, but Nick Myers is flying all over the ice, getting in fights. And these subs are just like rabid, chomping, foaming at the mouth But so. Did it affect the game? Yes. Does it, in the big scheme of things, is it going to make a big difference? No. But it's like week 1, you're kind of excited to, play your game and you want to see what your team looks like. And I'm sorry, but Sugar for Andy Fem, it's like Sugar is in a different elite category, so it makes a difference. So there you go. So, but it all over the course of a season, we'll see. Next time I play the Nordiques and if I have an opportunity to sub up to the maximum extent, we're gonna do it. And it all even out over the season.
yeah, I mean, it's a long season. There's still 25 games. As much as we like to jib and jab and make excuses or not make excuses for certain things, I mean, at the end of the day, like Troy just said, it'll even out. I mean, at some point in the season, you'll have to sub down. At some point in the season, you'll have to sub up. At some point, maybe we can't get judging, so we have to sub down and get Peso 3rd round, right? So or something like that.
It's just Panty's got this reputation. Oh, is Panty the nice guy and blah blah blah. But he's just cutthroat as they come, And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it,
I mean, he had ice in his veins, and we stared at Sips and Brennan, right? No, Sips and who was it? Sips and Math. He's like, I'm drafting Brennan, and they're both like, oh, he stood you up. He stood you up. They both ask him out to dinner and stands him up at the draft.
So I think there's another question here. We talked about we had this rule in place. We had it for reasons, but we have 7 teams this year. Someone misses the playoffs. In probably most situations when someone misses, you're actually subbing up. I would say 70% of the time or more.
Correct.
Should that rule be changed, or should we consider talking about it?
that's the larger discussion, and leave it to Slack Guru, Slacker of the Year, Cipperoni to bring it up, and I think it should. And we were kind of we are talking about it off the air. I don't really. It's been a long year, or excuse me, it's been a long league. So to try to remember exactly how everything went down, I don't. But first year we only have 4 teams, right? Everyone makes the playoffs. No one really cares about the regular season, like win-loss record, too much. And then again, we only had 4 teams, so it's like if your first round picks out, you can use the same round, and then sometimes that would benefit a team or not, depending on where they are. And I think I could be wrong, but I think it was even like you could go a round up. And again, we only had 4 teams, not a lot of flexibility. Like you need play, if the rule's too strict, you might not be able to find a sub, So it kind of has evolved over the years, and I think the reason we went up, like when I say up, being able to sub a better player, I think it was really for like the flexibility of being able to find a comparable player. But the problem is once the rule's in there, you can, exploit it. But I certainly think now that there's a playoff spot on the line and it might be too late to change for this year. I mean, we could change it, and I'm not making a hard push for this. But just conceptually, in my mind, a team you shouldn't get better but when your team is missing players. You know? So if you have a team that shows up with 10 players every week, they shouldn't be penalized because they're playing a team that, doesn't show up. Just conceptually, I think that just makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. One team doesn't make it. There's a lot more on the line. So it would, Sips missed again. He's back to his old. He's in midseason form right now.
He's in midseason form game 1.
Yeah. And
for all I know is, you look at that lineup, he could have a huge sub for him the whole year, and that could make that team better.
Yeah.
But then come the playoffs, you got to sub down for him, and all of a sudden you lose out.
Wasn't that spring this year?
Yeah. Well, and spring's a whole different thing. It's loosey-goosey. But we talked about it strategically with the general, too. Like, and I know we all, it was general was back. He's great. We'll talk about that. But, strategically, the Seals could have if he doesn't show up, who gives a shit? Because I can sub all the way up, 4 picks.
Yeah.
So
we got Rubel now.
And I believe the reason the rule was in place, at least for the sub up 4 at one point, was because people like Proctor, who is typically always number 1, would never be able to sub for anybody. So I think it had to do with that. I could see some kind of rule eventually coming in where maybe your top 4 guys in like top 4, 5, 6 overall picks can all sub for each other, and then everybody else, maybe you give like a 1-up leeway or something like that, and everything else is back. I agree with you that it might not be right to switch it this season. I would leave that up to the Ivory Tower, but it's something that maybe could be addressed in the future. Yeah,
and it's also like discussion bounces back and forth between the Ivory Tower and the general, so it gets, sometimes it gets lost in translation. But Ty, I think he posted in the general channel, which a concept that makes sense is like, you have to sub down, but Sugar can. Sugar can sub for Proctor and vice versa. Just that like those top 3 like elite, you could carve out caveats. We do generally try to do what's right and what's fair, but nothing's perfect.
Or if you're subbing up, right? Let's say you sub up with somebody like, I don't know. If you say yesterday Sugar was a sub up, right? So then Sugar subbed up for Fem, then when Panties being subbed in, then if they have 2 players, then whoever's replacing Panty should be subbed down. Maybe you could. There's different ways you could.
Yeah, that's a concept, but then it just gets it can get confusing. But again, I want to be clear as like we didn't lose. I'm not saying we lost because of Sugar. I don't want that to be like And was I pissed off? Like there's a little bit of truth in every like joke. So I'm not going to say like I wasn't upset because I was. Upset's not the right word, but it's like I do think it was kind of a Bush League move, but it is what it is. They played better than us. They deserve to win.
So just to wrap this up, the Whalers are on the bye next week. I'm available at 9 o'clock if anybody does need a sub. Give me a call. I'll be happy to help win you a game. So,
yeah, I mean it's kind of cool. It's always fun to sub. There's no pressure. You're just the happy-go-lucky guy. So, and if you're on the bye week, I mean, it is fun to get kind of called in.
If you're Troy, you get to play forward.
Now, I have one other question since you were there. Was the opposite ice occupied with a scorer and a DJ guy on the NHL side? Was there someone running the clock?
Or changing subjects to now?
No, this is on the because again, part of the rationale for having this bye week and the 7th team is that oftentimes last year, everyone in the 9 o'clock game is subbing in the 10 o'clock games. So there's not even enough bodies to get over to get the game on the NHL rink started. So hopefully they're by and again, it was the Americans had 10 subs, so that kind of ruined it. But I'm just curious if it was more efficient on the other side of the rink.
I know they had Gio in the box. They had Suokas in the box. I'm trying to remember who the third person was. I mean, they had people in there. I think to start the game, I think it was actually Feaster's uncle was in the box with one of the
That guy's the
players.
best.
Yeah.
He was taking down the goals in the first period. He's telling me the whole.
Yeah.
And if we actually want to roll right into the Seals Americans game, we can, because I mean he's a hot take. I thought was kind of funny. So
yeah, we can.
First period comes around. I think.
But I'm
Feaster's
glad
uncle's
that it was. There were times last year where there's no one over at the end, like literally zero. So if we had 3 bodies in there, that's a win. That means that part of the rationale for adding the 7th team and having the bye week worked.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, then they can come in and swing in and help when they need it.
So yeah, getting down to it. Golden Seals played the Americans, 6-2 win by the Seals. I'll let you take it away.
So the I guess I'll sum this up in the first period kind of score sheet stat. Mr. Feaster or Uncle Feaster, Feaster's uncle was in the box keeping score, and he told me, he's like, the referee came over and told me 22 once, and I said, okay, thank you, and then came in and told me the second goal was number 22, unassisted, and I was like, okay, thank you, and then the third time the referee came over, he said 22. He said, you know who? And he goes 22. He's like, who do you think? And he goes, yep. And he's like, oh, I guess my nephew scored 3 goals in the first period. I'm like, oh, all right, and that's how I found out the Seals were up 4-1 in the first period against the sub-heavy Americans. And like you said, that score ended up being 6-2. I mean, it was largely academic, probably like midway through the second onwards. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I missed like the first probably 8 minutes of the first period. So I kind of rolled in there. I was like, oh, this is already like a semi-blowout. And like Wright was like trying to give me some details. And I was talking to Graham. He gave me some details. But the second period kind of, the play was, like 50-50. But like you said, it was largely academic. I think I saw one goal. I think it was a McCracken that slid across the, or Pellet. One of the two slid across the front of the top of the circles and ripped it in on J-Flow. So the Americans, I think, were kind of missing Star back there on defense, kind of missing some of their key players. So I don't want to say it's like evident of what America's going to be the rest of the season, obviously. So I mean, I don't know what your thoughts on seeing that score line or hearing that Feaster scored 3 goals and if he was dynamic or not or what. But
I mean, that's the flip side of the sub situation. Like when you have multiple subs and you can and you're organized, like it can be to your advantage. But what happened with the Americans last night was they were out 5, and it was just a complete shit show and then like 2 of them were late bails, so they're not like prepared. No one knows what the hell's going on. I believe they started the game with 8 or 9 skaters, and then one comes on late. And so when we've all been there. The beauty of our league is that you only have 10 skaters, so you have your 2 lines, and that's great. But the problem is for those handful of times when someone's getting late on the ice, it's just the rhythm's all messed up because you're rolling lines. No one knows where they're supposed to go. So I'm gonna give the Americans a little bit of a free pass, and as far as just trashing them. So we'll kind of we'll see. Are the Seals? We'll find out in the next few weeks. Are the Seals really that fucking good?
Yeah. When I came out and I heard the score 6-2, I was shocked. Now that does include I did not realize going in the prediction contest that Star was out. I think that was a surprise to most people. So it's hard to say. I don't know who subbed for him.
Didn't Judge sub for him?
Judge.
So that's a quality sub. I'm not going to say if it's equal or not. It's really hard to say.
Completely different players. Star is just a rock solid shutdown D-man. Judge, when he plays D, likes to go. And so there's.
I think Judge was playing forward last night, and then they had Math play D.
They had so many bodies.
Yeah, it was just it was like a sub roulette kind of.
I think the official. Just going down their list, I think they were out Star. Did Edge and AJ Power show up?
I know Edge was there, yes.
Okay, and I know
I didn't see AJ.
either.
I know Manny was out.
So Powers was out. Manny was a late scratch.
Star,
and then Sips, and then Wood. I mean, so it was a bunch of guys out. So I was completely serious about that. I get a text from John Starr at like 8:30. And he's like, "Can you tell my team that I'm not going to be there tonight?" Or maybe it was 7:30, but whatever. It was late, and I just found it comical that Star was on my team last year and blah blah blah. But the other funny part about that was I said, "I'll tell him, but here's here's the contact for your GM," and I shared him Manny's contact, which says Brian Madalino, and he's like, "Who's this?" And I'm like, so he's and then he thought about it for a second. He's like, so Brian is Manny, and it's like,
bum bum.
But it's funny because, as you know, Star and Manny were teammates on the Americans the whole.
The whole
2 years ago
season,
for the keg, and he didn't know that Brian Madalino was Manny. So
yeah, my sources are saying AJ was there. Sounds like Judge was playing some center. I think it's a little early to judge the Americans based on all of their subs. But that team did, I believe, have attendance problems in the preseason. Now they're having attendance problems as well. It's a little bit concerning. I think the big story is going on is the Seals. Obviously, Pfister had the 3 goals, came out the bat, back to back.
4 goals, baby.
I thought the stats said 3. But either way, he came out firing.
Yeah, stats did say 3.
I think Shawnee had one. The General was back. He had a goal and an assist. So lots of positives all the way around. Whoop had a little bit of giddy up in his step after the game. It was nice to see. Whoop got his groove back. So, are the Seals for real?
Yeah. Well, if we remember, we can roll the tape. That's what's nice about having this. I mean, I predicted the Seals as my first place team. So they're proving me right so far. And then just looking at we play them next week, so you look at their lineup, they're just deep. I mean, they have that top line. They got Pfister, Shawnee, and this Pellet, who's just a big pain in the ass. And then they got Rattler, General, and Neville on the second line. So that's, but then their D is, they got Allen Z playing D with Leroy. That's a nice solid pairing. And then they got Whoop and McShannock. And again, we'll see. It's still early for all these things. But I said, McShannock is the perfect partner for Whoop because we all know Whoop's game now. He's going to plop his ass in front of the net. He's not moving. And then McShannock is actually covering the entire ice. And then Whoop just stands there. So it
directs traffic.
Yeah, kind of. So they're a deep team. And Allen Z, I have seen Z play defense. I don't know if it was last spring or a little bit of not so much WDW, but he's probably just slides in and he's an above average defenseman. So
yeah, my sources say the General didn't do a lot of skating last night, did a lot of floating, but as long as he's got that shot and those skills, that's really all that matters.
Yeah, he's got the Rattler to do the hard work for him.
And I mean, Neville's not slow. Like I said, I picked him as my, the Dickie Dunn's, grinder, for forward of the year. I mean, Neville's made some pretty big leaps in spring and summer. He can skate. He's always going to try to dig pucks out in the corners. So between, I guess, his compete and Rattler's energy, I think they could find the float in General in the high slot to rip it home. So.
Yeah, General's basically lined up with Jim Ellis or that second, a Ty Otto. Yeah. So it's like it's
Brett Hall taking advantage of a bunch of small children. It's like that one South Park episode where Red Wings crushed the Avalanche.
Yeah, we'll see. One other little hot take, and I know he's a podcast listener, but and we all, great guy. Everyone's enjoying his addition to the league, but the Dylan, and I didn't see it, but just kind of like as a faux pas, this whole the goalie, the way it was described to me was that basically Proctor's in on a breakaway, and there's a difference. There's like a poke check, and then but basically it was like a Dominic Hasek lunge at him and then send him upended. So I didn't see it, so I don't know for sure. But just as a general rule, that Hasek thing, it's a fun to watch in the videos, but it's dangerous. It's like when a guy when that goalie lunges out and a skater's got his head down, and then a guy gets flipped end over end. That's just kind of like.
It's dangerous for both parties too, because I mean,
it's just not. It shouldn't be done. It really shouldn't. And I didn't see it, so maybe maybe whoever described it to me wasn't completely accurate. But I just don't want to see that technique used.
Yeah, not a fan either. I think, especially with, I don't know how Dylan is, but goalies are sensitive around their crease. Obviously, you don't want them getting hurt. They shouldn't be going out there doing dangerous moves against other people. We don't want anybody in the league being hurt. It's kind of my.
I'd remove that move from the repertoire. There, we'll say that. Yeah. He's probably listening. We all love him.
But let's move on. We'll go in reverse order because we'll go to the main event last, what we thought was the main event.
I like how he says it with a smirk.
Second matchup of the night was, you could say this is second no matter what. It's the middle game. The Whalers defeated the Mighty Ducks 3-2 in a shootout. So
just lead us away, Pearcy. It's your team. To the victor go the spoils. Now I'm going to talk about everything.
I don't think we need to necessarily go play-by-play, but tight game all around. The Ducks, even though they're my last place team to pick, I think we said every team in the league solid. I think they helped prove that there. To me, the Ducks are who we thought they were going to be. That first line is a big pain in the ass, super well with Bin, Busta, and Sugar. Second line, you need Turtle to do a lot of dirty work there to keep them alive and keep the other team from scoring. And they got a good defense. Ruba was jumping up all night trying to get in that offense. I think they're going to need that. They're going to need some goals and some playmaking out of him. Whalers, I think we're close to what we think we were. I think we need to get that chemistry down a little bit more, but I thought Cam played a really solid game. Defense, we're decent, and with having those 4 guys at the top, we're dangerous. Even if we're not controlling the puck, if we get that breakout or that one opportunity, we're going to be dangerous and hopefully send it home.
Yeah, the one large thing I kind of noticed between your two teams last night, especially with the Whalers, was that if the puck was deep or below, like and hash marks are below, you would always have a third man back. You'd have that triangle. So both defensemen would try to contain if they couldn't keep control of Sugar, they couldn't keep control of Bin, and then that center was always back at the top of the triangle to help out and put that 2-on-1 kind of odd man in favor of the defense positioning. So, you have one person pressure on the boards, the second guy swoops in and takes the puck away. And it almost seemed like that every single play when the Ducks were bringing it in towards the second half of the game was the same way. I guess going the other way. So, after the second period, going into probably mid-third, it seemed to be super cagey. You guys had lots of get a little chippy because some penalties were taken, some bumps on the boards. I know Sugar had one where he drew a penalty, I think it was on
Sugar had
Peso.
Sugar had an elbowing
on Peso.
Yeah. Sugar had drew an elbowing call at somebody on somebody. Yeah. That was his.
Ben drew a penalty that he kind of dove on. It was all good against Peso. But,
yeah, that's what it was.
That game went to overtime. We got to see our first look at Bender overtime. I was out there a lot of it. It felt fun.
You had the game on your stick. There was minute 30 left. The hero of the night, Pearcy, sitting probably 2 feet outside the crease. Someone throws at the net. He's not even looking at the point. He's looking to the boards, not the net, not the point, looking sideways. He turns to look at the point after the shot's taken. He doesn't know what's going on. Off of his stick, off the post, out. Everyone in the box was screaming, "Oh!" because we thought he was going to score.
Yeah, I was on the bench. I was on the bench for that one, but there was another point where Pearcy had a little chance in front of the net where I actually engaged with him. But my takeaway from that game was, again, the Whalers were the favorite. So relative to expectations, I think the Whalers, that was not a great night. They got 2 points. You'll take 2 points every night. So it's in that regards, it's a success. But it was really surprising. And I agree. The first line was kind of what to be expected. Sugar and Ben are going to be a handful. Serta and Dave P. And then they got the little benefit of the way they juggled the lines with their subs. It allowed Weaver to play up at forward, or I think he's going to have to play D if Ite shows up or whatever. But the point is, the storyline is that Ducks' second line, which, you have Trent and Peso and Venandi, who had a real nice preseason, going up against Turtle, myself, and Jim Ellis. And I was and I'm on my second skate. So I was really if you would have told me before the game that we're going to be even, it's that's a win for the Ducks. Second line, they play even, and then Sugar and Ben got to do what they got to do. So, so I was surprised. It wasn't a good debut for the Trent and Peso line, but they got 2 points, and that's all that counts, I guess.
Yeah, I think we're still working on the chemistry. It's still early. Hopefully, Ike should be back in 2 weeks after our bye. Be nice to get him out there. There's a lot of talk about him being one of the steals of the draft, but nobody really knows for sure. See him out there. Pellet, people were down on him, and now people are super high. It could be the opposite with Ite. So I'd like to see us at full strength, a couple more games together, get things going. And I think the Ducks, they're just one of those matchups they're a strong defensive team, and I think they're going to make a lot of those offensive teams look bad. And I thought Cone played a nice game, and I don't want to say sub up, but he held strong and he helped him out a lot.
Yeah.
I think Koner was an unsung hero kind of for the Ducks a little bit towards the end because it got cagey, but when there were chances, he came up huge. I know there was one glove save he windmilled off of I think it was Serta late in the third, about 3:30 left, and it was really nice coming across the crease.
The Whalers' first goal was, it was a nice, the Whalers dominated that whole shift, and Dave P had a nice thing, but he made a real nice save, and he didn't know where the puck was under his pad, and then he kind of stood up, and then Weaver banged it in. So it was kind of their first goal was actually a little bit fluky. I don't think Cone knew where it at, but he made a lot of nice saves throughout the night.
Yeah. Let's move on to the main event of the night, or what we thought it was going to be the Stanley Cup rematch. First game of the season, kind of that tradition of the rematch. The Nordiques versus the North Stars. Just looking at the pick'em ahead of time, slight favorite went to the North Stars, but it turned out to be a 5-2 win for the Nordiques. Hedis, you were in the back of the net. Let's hear your opinion from your viewpoint.
I definitely was not in the back of the net. I was definitely outside of the net, but I was
You know
fishing.
what I'm
I was
saying.
fishing the pucks out of the back of the net. Yes. I mean, I don't know. Long story short, I mean, the Nordiques pretty much outpossessed the North Stars, probably, I don't know, like a 60-40 ratio. Like, I think Troy kind of broke it down as power rankings a little bit, and I'm going to touch on that right now, that we had a lot of passes or errant passes where our defense had the puck, and we just turn it over in high danger places for them to get chances. And if you give a team enough chances, they can convert some. Granted, I probably could have stopped one or two of the goals that were kind of soft. I mean, like the fourth and fifth goal. But at that point, it's already like 3-1, 3-2. So, I mean, as a whole team, I mean, you have to play better. And it starts, I guess it starts from the back, right? And you just got to make some more saves. And the North Stars, the defense, we have to make better first plays and not get too cute with it. And our forwards, have to score more goals. But you can't discredit what the Nordiques did. I mean, they were only missing, like we said earlier, I mean, they're only missing Panty, they're only missing Sugar. So at the end of the day, like, Sugar is, I guess, quote unquote, a sub up or whatever. But I mean, Fem is going to be involved in plays, and I know that even if you take away the goals that Sugar was involved in, they still win the game at 3-2. So I mean, the Deeks outplay the North Stars, and they kind of earned their win last night.
Now, Troy, Pistol seemed to be all over the ice. He scored 2 goals. There's a lot of talk should you guys have drafted him. Do you think he was out for a little bit of revenge last night?
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, no, we got a motivated Pete, and again, Pete, he's a very good MNL player. His league knowledge is off the charts. He just kind of preys on the little pick off the passes from shitheads like me and blah blah blah. So Pete had a great game, and yeah, he's when we had the little skirmish with Sugar. Pete then went in to head us later, which I think was completely unintentional. But
it was unintentional.
But we'll take the power play. But then he comes to the box and he's like, "Whoa, wow! All these guys that you drafted in front of me are shitting the pants," So yeah, like that's a no-brainer. Yes, was Pete motivated? Yes, but from the North Stars perspective, there's glass half full, glass half empty. We just a ton of mistakes. By everybody. Myself included. My brother Ty made 2 mistakes that ended up, but I made some mistakes that maybe didn't end up in the back of the net. But Ty, the very first goal, Ty's at the blue line. It's just hockey 101. When that puck is at your blue line, it has to get out. And Ty kind of lollipops it, and then what do you know? It's right on Sugar's stick. And then we have 2 defensemen back. It's a 1-on-2, but they both kind of cave in to head us, and boom. So, but anyways, that too many mistakes. On a positive side, I liked the resiliency. We got down 1-0. We come back, boom, 1-1. Then we get down 3-1. Suit scores a goal at the end of the second. It's 3-2. I felt like we kind of had some momentum going, but then they get a goal right on the third, and it's kind of off the rails. It was it's just a little. Some of the goals were just a little bullshit. Just some nights as a goalie, from what I remember, it's like just shit gets through. It's like not your fault. Like Kimmel's goal, there's a scrum in front, and good play by him and whatever. I try to clear it, but it goes right on his stick, and then he just whaps at the puck. It goes through 7 people, and then I think it trickles through head.
Didn't even see the puck, and it just went like, I went.
And some nights that just hits you in the chest, and everything's fine. And then some nights it goes in. And then Gio's, it was a nice play again by Sugar. And
Gio was laughing at me last night because he fanned on it.
Yeah, but he passes out in front. He kind of shanks it, and then like when a shooter like fans on it, the timing of it as a goalie, your timing's all off, and then so there was just kind of like they had good goals, bad goals, everything in between, so it adds up to a loss. So we'll have to just regroup and rebound. From the Nordiques perspective, yeah, you had a motivated Pete out there. I do think the Sugar thing, not so much on the scorecard, but it's like when Pete is able to man a line, right? So Pete and Kimmel, that line's going to be legit, and then Andy Fem and Gio, we'll see what kind of, we'll see down the road how well they produce. But when you have put Sugar on the second line, when you have Pete at center and Sugar at center, it's like you have a top-notch threat on the ice at all times. And I'm not trying to discount Andy Fem, but it's just different. So we'll see if Andy Fem can, carry that second line by himself. But Pete was motivated as shit. He played a good game. Koner's a solid goalie. And, they got it done. So good. We'll see if they can, keep it up.
Now, Hedis, I noticed there was a lot of penalties going on in that game. A couple times I looked over. I think there was 3 guys in the box on one side. I believe Mr. Krysak over here at least had 2 penalties. were the refs just calling it tight? Were people just out there motivated first game of the season? What was going on?
Well, I mean, it all happened like in the third period, and I mean, at that point, again, it's like 5-2 with like 5-6 minutes left in the game, and it's kind of largely academic. So, I mean, I think the person that was in question kind of knows that they were being a little cheeky after the whistle. I mean, most people don't skate to the net after the puck's covered for 1 apple, 2 apple, and then just stand next to the goalie. So then people on our team, they know who they are. They go, oh, well, you're going to be cheeky. I'm going to be cheeky. And then scrums happen, and next thing you know, you got people in the box on both teams. So, I mean, again, it's 5-2. I mean, and Monday Night Lights, to me, if you're up by 3 goals, I mean, it's not like you don't quit, like, as a player and you stop playing as hard, but you don't need to take liberties, like, or, like, doing, like, you know, kind of not necessarily shady things, but like over try-hardy kind of things.
Unless you're Peso going for the empty netter in a 5-goal game.
Yeah, like that sort of like...
That's style right there.
You know, that's tactless. That's
the thing with Sugar is, regardless of Sugar, kind of, I watch a lot of youth hockey. I'm participating in this league. Kind of, to me, the unwritten rule is that if you want to go in and give the goalie a little whap, which is what, you know, I'm not saying it was malicious, but he did throughout the game, he, you know, little stabs at the glove one time. And then he does this, like skate and do, you know, almost snow. Not to say they snowed, but kind of stop and aggressively like stand over him. It's like if you want to do something like that as a forward, to me, it's kind of then you expect to get a little shit from the defenseman. And it's like you do this, you do that, boom, and everybody's done. So from my recollection, Sugar was doing just a little nothing crazy. But then I gave him a little bullshit, and that's it, you know. But I will say to Sugar's credit, you know. He's one of the guys, like, we can fuck with each other, and he's pissed. I mean, he's swearing at me, I'm swearing at him. It's like, it's legitimately pissed, but literally by the time we skated off the ice, it's like, he comes over, he's like, it's done, you know, whatever, it's done, and then we're fine, you know, so and you can move on. And Myers kind of entered that was another little fun little story that I don't know that many people know this, so Myers kind of gets in the fray and goes after Graham. Graham says something, this might not be an exact quote, but it's pretty fucking close. And he said, don't make a mistake that'll ruin your fucking life. You know, basically like, I'm going to fucking kill you if you come after me. So that was good. So
what you're saying is you drafted a bodyguard instead of a true defenseman by passing him, taking Graham over Ruben.
The irony about that statement and that story, though, is that after the game, Graham's in the locker room. He's like, yeah, boys, I think I popped my shoulder out at soccer, separated it. Yeah. And then Sikorsky, because we have like the best team trainers in the league, right? Yeah. We got Sikorsky and Suits, both doctors, right? Like PT and specialists and anesthesiologists. They're both arguing like, wait, is it this muscle group? Is it this muscle group? They're sitting there and they're like, how are we going to pop his arm back in? Should I do it? He's like, well, I could do it for you. But I've never, Suits goes, I can do it for you, but I've never done this before. I've only done it in training. He's like, well, Graham goes, can it get worse? He's like, well, yeah, but so he lay him down on the table, bop his arm back, and he gets a feeling he can now lift it above his shoulder. But it was, it was
and
crazy.
I was texting Graham today. I'm like, how do you feel? He's like, I feel pretty good. Suits popped my shoulder back in. So that was fun. And that's the other thing, too. It's like a little bit, it's like we're down 5-2. We're all frustrated. So there's nothing like a good little scrap to kind of like bond the team. No one on the North Stars knows each other. You know, like some people know each other, but as a unit, we don't have a bunch of chemistry, so nothing like getting a small little skirmish, and you got to protect your fucking goalie. So I hope that Hedis appreciates, you know, the guys coming to his aid.
I'll protect myself. I'll start throwing fucking blockers and can opening people if I have to. So I think the league knows that already.
So we also had the pick'em contest that we've all talked about. I think we have about 35 or so people in it right now. We only had 3 people go 3 for 3 on the week. We had Dylan, Dave P.
Ooh, Dave P.
I don't remember the last one off the top of my head.
Does he have a mini boner for going?
I'm done. I'm not even. I'm done with that. That's been done.
Justin Wright was the last one. Just looking at the standings.
I would like
thank
to
you
say
Drager for that
to
as
the
well.
trusted voice of MNL. I haven't cleared this with you, but I want everyone to participate in this. Okay,
I totally agree. One other thing. This is actually sponsored by OFP. I want to get them that plug in. So if you're looking to sell a house, contact Troy. If not, if you're not familiar with this, email the podcast at podcast@MNLHL, and I'll get you his information as well. But it's 1 weekend. There's some people that have 0 that participated in. It's not a lot to make up.
I had an idea, and I want to clear it with the trusted voice. But it's like, I don't want someone to not participate because they're like, oh, I'm already a week behind and just fuck it, you know? So what I was proposing to do is that if anyone, giving them a one-time opportunity for the podcast listeners. If you want to jump in for week 2, that we give them an automatic, free point so that they're not too far behind. And then anyone who has a goose egg, just so that they don't get penalized for not, coming in work, give them a point. So everyone's at 1 point. That's what I'd like to do to just kind of spur activity to make sure that everybody gets in. I don't know, but it's up to you. It's your deal, Pearcy. But that thought was running through my head because I want everybody to participate.
I'd like everybody to participate. We had a lot of people come in late. I think that email where I had majority of people's email address and could email them and they could just respond helped. I'm going to try to set that up so it'll go out maybe every Friday or Saturday to give people a little bit more time. After a couple weeks, I'll probably just start sending it to the people that participate. Let me think about it. Maybe we'll even do something where...
You can ignore some weeks, like you get like 3 weeks. If you miss like 3 weeks,
maybe toss out your worst week or something. But I don't want someone to be discouraged to join because they missed the first week.
I like the idea of tossing out your worst week better. So if you miss the one, that's going to be your 0 no matter what. I think that's a little bit better of idea than giving someone a bonus point. Right. So
we just brainstormed right here. I think that's a great solution.
Meeting adjourned.
And toss one out.
But yeah, we do want more people participating. Hopefully we'll get it out a little bit earlier this week so it'll give you more time. But if you don't actually get that MNL email about it, let me know. Because I think we have 60 some people's emails. So we are missing a few people's email addresses. But I will post something in the announcements as well about getting those in as well. And then if you do email it in, you'll be added to that email list to get you that thing. But let's move on to the actual power rankings real quick. I don't want to spend...
What emoji is this, Dave? Like, Dave P posted, like, in the chat, and it's just... What is... I don't even... It's like a woman waving. That makes no sense.
He's saying hi to you. He loves you.
Okay.
But let's move on to the power rankings real quick. Sponsored by Troy Auto and OFP. Your first team would be the Seals.
Yeah, and for the record, I didn't think it was fair to throw that. I could have threw the Tigers in there at number 4, but I mean that's just kind of stupid, right? So they didn't play, so I didn't rank them good or bad. But the Seals being number 1, I think is a no-brainer. They stomped. I mean, the Americans were high on most people's preseason list. They had the number 1 overall pick, the number 1 goalie. And I don't think it's a shocker that they won, but it's I think everyone was like, holy fuck, it was 6-2, so I think that's pretty non-controversial putting them at number 1 after, I don't know who else you would consider. I guess the Whalers win in overtime. I don't think they can really make a stake for number 1.
The Nordiques.
And the Nordiques. Yeah, Nordiques possibly. But again, the Seals played with their team. Over the years, all jokes aside, I do try to, part of these are just to create some interest, but I try to reward the teams that actually have their teams there as opposed to a team that brings in 3. So Seals at number 1, I feel it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The Seals just seem to be clicking all together. They weren't missing anybody. And although we was facing against the Nordiques right on the ice and everything, just from a viewpoint outside the ice, watching the Seals game, they really controlled the puck. Probably from from the end of the first period all the way midway through the second period when it got up by 4 and it's academic at that point. So for me, yeah, Seals would be number 1.
Yeah, they came out a blazing. I think it was a little bit of a surprise, but people thought they had that potential to be a good team. Pfister, 3 goals in a row to start out the game. Natural hat trick. You can't argue with them coming in at number 1. Your second pick, I'm actually a little bit surprised with, is going to be the Whalers.
Yeah, again, this is... If the Nordiques beat us the way they did with their actual team, I would have put the Nordiques at number 2, but they didn't. And so, the Whalers had their full team. They got the W, so I thought they were and I think they're from watching them, they're just a deep, solid team. So they're my number 2 right now. I started with the Nordiques at number 7, coming into this whole deal. So moved them up. The Whalers at number 2.
I don't necessarily. I wouldn't necessarily agree just because Whalers, heavy favorites, predicted to be either first or second in the league for many of our pundits, right? So I probably would put the Nordiques at 2 and flip flop them the Whalers. It's still good when your team can play quote unquote bad and you can still get 2 points on the night. That's a sign of a good team when you don't play your best and you still get a win. But by the same token, I mean, Nordiques kind of put on a show. I mean, will everybody put on a show against us? I'm going to make sure that doesn't happen on my end. And hopefully the North Stars will as well. The rest of us will be on the same train, so it doesn't happen next week and going forward. But Nordiques kind of, I mean, if you put up 5 goals Monday Night Lights, to me, it's kind of a dominating score line, even if you have some subs. So I'd probably put Nordiques as number 2.
I wouldn't fight you. I mean,
let's keep going through and kind of say where
Okay.
that team would be on your listing on there. So I'm going to say the Whalers. They would have actually been my number 3 team. Like I said, I think we have very good chemistry in the locker room. Our chemistry isn't fully there on the ice as of yet, but I think it's going to get there. I think that talent's going to fit together. So they would be, but I don't think we performed up to our full ability. So I would actually give us number 3. Ducks were your number 3, though.
this is the Troy Auto special here. The quality loss.
Plus, you sub for them, so they get that extra bump as well.
Hey,
The cool.
hey, I'm a good. Say what you want about me. I love being a sub, and I invest fully into the team that I sub for. But yeah, I mean, the Ducks played the preseason's favorites. They took them to overtime. I really thought they were going to win. I mean, we were up 2-1 most of the game. The goal that you actually tied it up on, it's like Rubel had done one of his rushes, and then we were on the doorstep. We almost bang one in. They go the other way, tie it up. So I just think overall the Ducks played great. I also thought they were going to win when they got that power play at the end of the game, and then we threw out the stacked. I was on the ice, and I'm like, Sugar, get your ass out here. So they had the Sugar, Bin, Turtle, Rubel, and whoever. I'm like, fuck, they're going to score here, and But anyways, quality loss for the Ducks. They look good, so I gave them number 3. And again, playing with their team, except I think I was their only sub, and me for Bauer is probably a sub down. So quality loss with a sub down.
Yeah, they'd be my number 4. Obviously, we said flip flop. With Nordiques going up to 2, then it'd be Whalers 3, and then Ducks 4 for me.
Yeah.
So
Ducks would go to my number 4. Like I said, I think as far as a team, they are who I thought they were, but that does not mean they're a bad team. They got the top line. The rest of them are tough. They played really good. So you got to reward them for that.
Yeah. Rubel is also hyper, as you pointed out. Rubel is like hyper aggressive. I mean, he's jumping and going, and it's pros and cons because he did get caught. They did catch him a couple times, like very early in the game. I think someone had a clear breakaway, but Rubel's playing at a high level.
Yeah, I probably didn't pay attention good enough. I think he was on the first line defense. I would consider throwing Rubel on that second line defense with Turtle and keep having him push up there to try to help out that second line offense.
When I was told that I was playing second line sniper, and it's like, this is, invite Troy, take over the team, but I just do as I'm told, but I'm thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, Turtle's going to have to do it all by himself. Having Rubel on that second line D would probably help out quite a bit because I can't skate, Jim can't skate, but it all worked out. They might do it later, though. I think it would make sense.
yeah, extra 4th man in and those odd man rushes.
And then Brawny, you can play Brawny on the top line, and he's rock solid, defenseman. But something to consider.
Your 4th team on the list was the Nordiques.
Yeah, convincing win. You can argue that this is way too low for them, but there's no one that can argue that they should be ranked higher than that because everyone else on the night lost.
So I would put the Nordiques. They're my number 2 team for the night. 5-2 win is a 5-2 win. They looked good. Sub whatever. I mean, it's the first week. You don't have anything else to go by. I thought they looked, especially their first preseason game, they looked good together as well. So this team might have a little bit more chemistry than I gave them credit for. So got to go there.
Yeah, like I said, I had the same opinion as you. I had them as my number 2, so which then leaves the next lowest team on the list would be another team that lost, to be the Americans 6-2. They're largely a big question mark. Not a variables, a little plug and play action with 5 subs. Standouts to me. Proctor obviously played well, carried play with Antioch, but with their second line largely a miss and people coming at defense that don't normally play defense. It was kind of a mess outside their first line. So I think what we knew to be true was their first line was going to be solid. They played pretty decent from what I saw, but all the question marks obviously kind of went against them in that loss against the Seals. So just because there's a lot of question marks still out there, I'd probably put them at number 5.
I would actually put the Americans at 6. I'm gonna play.
What did I put the Americans at 5 and us
Yeah.
at 6?
Yeah. So
I considered putting it as like a tie because we were both kind of equally shitty. But then I was like, fuck it,
I'm gonna
put
go
my
the
team
same way
last.
of leaving the Tigers out of this. I agree with not seeing them play, but from what I heard from a couple subs, the Americans getting out there. Where should we play? There was no organization, no nothing. I know Manny was gone, but Antioch needs to take control, be able to tell people at least the position they're playing, where they're going from. It makes me question a couple of things in the organization on that side of things, but I would like to see more organization, just plan that out. I know things are coming up late with Star and all of that, but it does not take that long to figure out 10 seconds to figure out a lineup. Just kind of let people know how you're going to be subbing those lines going in. Quick, easy, organize it, get things going, at least give your team a chance to win.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I can be accused of over communicating for sure, but I mean, to the flip side of that is, and when you're in week 7 of the season and you have your entire team there, you don't need the Todd Otto complete pump up speech. But when you have 5 subs, it's like, and no one knows what the fuck they're doing. Someone's got to step up and to give your team a chance and be organized. And clearly that didn't happen.
And that leaves us your last team, my 5th team, the North Stars. I think people were a little bit higher on them coming into the season. They kind of shit the bed there. My biggest question going into there is, I think Judge looks good, Suits is decent, but I question the actual scoring ability of this team. Are they going to be able to? Hedis is one of the top goalies in the league. He's going to, hopefully hold them into a couple games. But are they going to score enough to get those wins? Are they essentially the 2019 Seals of last year?
Yeah, no, I'm concerned. There's the glass half full, glass half empty. But yeah, it's like after Judge and Suits, like where are we going to get the goals from? So we definitely need. Darren. It's one of these things. Like again, I'm just watching him play, and it's like I think he played a real good game. I can't think of anything bad. I can't think of like one mistake that Darren made. But we got to get. He had an opportunity, kind of like a half breakaway. And I think he fired it wide, but it's like we got to. That's going to be our issue. Like our recipe is playing, get some goals and play good defense and get good goaltending and win. But if we don't, and that's the problem. Is the real problem with our team is the defense. It's like we can't turn the fucking puck over because we're not going to score 5-6 goals a night. So then if we just give the team 1 or 2 goals, we're going to be in trouble. So I'm certainly sitting here, not throwing in the towel. I can see a scenario where we win. But if we continue to just fuck up, then I could see a scenario where we're fighting for that last playoff spot. So we'll see.
Yeah, from sitting back and from where I was in the crease, same thing. It's at this league. I think the golden rule, Monday Night Lights, or the unspoken golden rule, is your team scores 3 goals on a night, you should win the game. So if your team can get to that golden 3 number, most teams, if your goalie's giving up 2 goals or less, you should win the game. Now, if it's like 2-1, 1-0, those are some big asks. If you're in the playoffs, maybe teams play more defensive in the playoffs, play deeper in their zones, shell up more. But in regular season, you should be shooting for 3 goals to try to win most of your games. So if your goalie's giving up more than 2, like I did last night, it's going to be kind of hard for us to win any games. If we're not scoring more than 2, then obviously it's going to be kind of hard. And
yeah, tough early goals against for the J Flow, the number 1. It's like
the number 1 and number 2 are eating a bunch of shit, and Dylan's sitting there like,
I know, and it's so I remember that as a goalie too. Like early in the year, it's like but that's the thing, you get a shutout next week, and then it just plummets. But I hate looking at the stat sheet when it's like there's no data inputs. It's just one, so it's just this big fat crooked number. But
yeah, and for those of you not watching,
too,
real quick, those of you not watching the video, check out the YouTube page, YouTube at MNLHL.com. We do, on our video, we have the standings listed. We have a cycle of going through all our points leaders, goals leaders, assist leaders, goals against average. We have a scroll at the bottom that shows the scores of all the games from the week and upcoming games for next week as well. So just check it out for another perspective there.
I did think Darren and Judge, like, there's something there. Like they had hockey's a weird game. Like Hedis said 60-40 possession. I can't remember. I wasn't a part of it. But there's something there with Darren and Judge. Like they're going to be a good top line. And then some of them are just, it was some fluky bullshit. I didn't feel like I've been in games where you just get dominated and you lose by 3 and you just suck the whole game. It didn't have that feeling to me. Like, it didn't feel anti-competitive. Like, I thought we were right there and a few different bounces our way and boom, boom, boom. So we'll see.
So next week, just to let you know, coming up on Monday, we have the Mighty Ducks versus the Americans, Tigers versus the Nordiques, and the North Stars versus the Seals. Whalers are off next week, so that'll be a fun bunch of games. Last thing for the night, Overreaction Theater. What's your biggest overreaction scare or hype up thing of week 1? Hedis, let's start with you.
Man, we could have had a little heads up. I mean, this is a tough one to just...
Yeah, it was. And the one note was just overreaction. I'm like, what does that mean? I
If
don't
you
know.
looked at the rundown,
I did look at it, and it just said
I was talking
overreaction.
to Troy.
Oh, sorry. Anyways,
fault.
regardless, I guess my largest overreaction of week 1 is that the wheels are falling off on the Americans because, I mean, they're missing 5 players. Like, people are like, oh, well, they lost 6-2. I mean, I don't think anyone's saying, oh, you know, Americans are the worst team, whatever, in the league because they lost, like, this is 1 game in. And again, this is the first game of the season. There's a lot of ifs, ands, and buts. There's a lot of variables that are still in play to be played. But team-wise, I would say, like, the wheels aren't falling off for, like, the Americans are missing 5 players. Player-wise, I think the biggest overreaction is probably Feaster. I mean, don't get me wrong. Guy scored 3 goals, put his stamp on the game, but not every player is going to score 3 goals a night in Monday Night Lights. Even the vaunted Paul Proctor doesn't get a hat trick every game he plays. So great first showing, fantastic, but that's a big shoes to fill going forward to score 3 goals every single game. So
yeah, you took mine. Mine's Fister as well. We heard on this podcast you preaching about him saying he's a first-round guy, should be going before Suits, one of those top players. What goes mid-second round, I believe.
Early second round. Seals took him
Early second round either way, but did the league miss on him? Should he have been, at that Andy Fem spot? Should he have been in the Suit spot? I mean, we saw him play. We saw him turn it up a few times out on the ice during those preseason games. Did we miss out on him? I think only time will tell.
Yeah, it was funny because Serta sent me a text message about Fister because he still hasn't seen him play, and I will say that was a nice first matchup for him. All the subs being aside, but Fister's a small, physically he's a small guy, right? And he's playing against Antioch and Proctor. Antioch's not a Antioch's a certified sniper, right? But he's not a real physical player. Paulie's not a real physical player.
Well, he doesn't even cross the blue line to go into the defensive zone.
oh my God.
My point being, that was kind of a perfect little matchup for Fister. Now, when you put Fister against a Sugar, Sugar's going to play physical. Shawnee's on his team. Serta's going to play physical against him. Pete's going to play physical against him. Trent. So we'll see.
I mean, Trent's going to catch him first.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So we'll see. My point is, Fister's going to be a productive player, but that was a nice, I think that matchup-wise, I think that was a good first matchup. My overreaction is Proctor is dead. This is an overreaction, right? So when we came into the locker room after the second game, Ty comes in. By the way, it should go on the podcast. Ty's ridiculous fucking reffing outfit. He's in he's wearing cargo shorts and a K-Phelps thing, but anyway,
He looked fantastic.
Anyways, Crunk comes in and he's like, "Man, I think and Crunk hasn't been in the league that much, but he's like, I think Proctor's seriously hurt or dead." He's like, "Yeah," and then that's when he, I guess I just gave up my source, but he told me about the Dylan just kind of killing him, and then he's like, "Yeah." Then at the end of the game, he had a breakaway and someone took him down on the boards and he couldn't get up, and I'm like, so basically, slinks off the ice and blah blah blah. So I think Crunk, not knowing the story of Proctor, it's like Proctor looked like he's dead, but he will be back and he will rise again.
Oh, I have no doubt he'll be producing this season. Will he produce at Fister or a Matt Taylor level? Who knows? Yeah. But we know he's one of the top guys in the league.
Yeah, and last comment on that, Proctor, he's Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Booby, but he's competitive as a motherfucker. He was not happy to welcome. He loves his hat trick lounge, and then Ty and I think he probably just forgot because it's game 1. But then Ty gives him Whoop. Someone gives him a reminder.
It was Whoop,
and it was kind of like a salty. Normally he's like, "Here's your velvet jacket, enjoy cigars and blah blah blah." But since it happened against him, there was definitely some salt there. I could be wrong, but I sense some salt.
He loves him, Pete, Charles, and Hal just hanging out together in there. He doesn't want anybody to invade their space.
Getting crowded.
It's getting crowded. Maybe
There's only enough room in the love seat for one.
I'm not going to say one day I'm going to be there, but maybe one day you will, Troy.
You never know. One can dream. It would be a nice day.
But yeah, just to wrap things up, as always, give us a call on the Whoop line. I'm talking to you, Sam, 714-75-WHOOP. Email the show podcast@mnlhl.com. And if you're looking to be on the show, we'd love to get some other teams involved in this. Send us a message. We got another microphone.
Yeah, so next week, me and Hedis are playing the Seals, and you're off. I mean, I'm sure you'll be there to, take it in or maybe even sub, but definitely for the other games that are going on, get somebody out here. It'd be nice to have the perspective from the other games.
Yeah, like I said, I'm available for the 9 o'clock game if anybody needs me for subbing. So
Had his brought his gear last night, and then I didn't get confirmation, so I just had to chuck it back in my car. 2 bags, 1 player.
Poor guy.
But yeah, it'd be great getting some other guys out here. But I think for the podcast, we are over.
See you next week.
Peace.